The world feels more chaotic than ever. We are constantly searching for calm, for a way to steady ourselves against the relentless tide of news and noise. Nearly 2,000 years ago, a Roman emperor found that exact peace while ruling an empire on the brink of collapse. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This was not empty philosophy. It was a battle-tested manual for the soul. This is a journey into the emperor's mind to decode his path to unshakable tranquility. We will uncover the core principles he used, from mastering what you can control to transforming every obstacle into fuel. By the end, you will possess a practical framework to build your own inner fortress, no matter what life throws at you. How did a man surrounded by war and plague achieve such profound calm? What is the secret to making your soul immune to chaos, just as he described? What does true peace look like from the inside? What if the key to unshakable peace was simply knowing what you can and cannot control? This question sits at the very heart of the emperor's mind. It is the first and most crucial principle, the foundation upon which everything else is built. Marcus Aurelius called it the dichotomy of control. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The entire practice of Stoicism begins with this single, radical act of sorting. On one side are the things within our control, our own thoughts, our judgments, our desires, and our actions. On the other side is everything else: the weather, the opinions of others, the traffic, the past, the future, the entire world outside our own mind. The emperor's resilience did not come from ignoring the chaos around him. It came from this precise understanding. He poured his energy only into the first category, his own inner world, and learned to accept the second with a calm indifference. Think about a modern stressor, like a critical comment from your boss or a difficult conversation with a loved one. Your immediate reaction might be frustration or anxiety, a feeling of being attacked. But the Stoic asks you to pause and sort. Can you control the words that another person chose to speak? No, that belongs in the external category. Can you control your interpretation of those words, your emotional response, and your subsequent actions? Absolutely, that is your domain, your inner citadel. Imagine you are stuck in terrible traffic. You can pound the steering wheel and shout at the cars, wasting your energy on an external event you cannot change. Or you can recognize the traffic is outside your control and turn your focus inward. You can choose to listen to an audiobook, use the time to think, or simply practice accepting the delay without inner turmoil. The situation has not changed, but your relationship to it has transformed completely. The obstacle becomes an opportunity to practice peace. So take a moment and bring to mind one situation that consistently troubles you. It could be a work deadline, a family tension, or a personal worry. Now apply the emperor's filter. Look at that situation and ask yourself, what here is truly 100% within my control? You will likely find it is a much smaller list than you first thought. Your effort, your attitude, your preparation. Everything else is just noise. This is the starting point. This is where you begin building your own unshakable peace from the inside out. Your mind is an unassailable fortress, a place of perfect calm, even when the world outside rages. This is the Stoic ideal of the inner citadel, a mental stronghold built not of stone but of disciplined thought. For Marcus Aurelius, this was not a metaphor. It was a daily practice, a retreat he could enter at any moment. He wrote, "People look for retreats for themselves in the country, by the coast, or in the hills. But this is altogether uncharacteristic of a philosopher, since you can, whenever you wish, retreat into yourself. Nowhere can a person find a retreat more full of peace or more free from care than his own soul. His was not a passive hope for tranquility. He actively constructed this inner sanctuary through relentless self-awareness and mental discipline. He understood that emotional resilience is not the absence of trouble, but the ability to stand firm within it. Consider the immense pressures he faced. He led Rome through years of brutal war and a devastating plague that killed millions, all while dealing with personal betrayals from those he trusted. History tells us his own general, Avidius Cassius, once revolted and declared himself emperor. Yet, when the rebellion was crushed, Marcus showed remarkable clemency, focusing not on vengeance but on the stability of the empire. He did not allow the external betrayal to breach the walls of his inner self. He processed the event, judged it according to reason, and chose his response from a place of principle, not raw emotion. You face your own versions of this every day. A harsh email feels like a personal attack. A sudden financial setback threatens your sense of security. A difficult interaction leaves you feeling raw and exposed. In these moments, your inner citadel is being tested. What weakens its walls? It is usually our own unchecked judgments, our automatic assumptions that an event is catastrophic or that a person's words define our worth. We hand the keys to our inner peace over to external forces. So how do you strengthen your own fortress? You start by observing your own reactions. The next time you feel a surge of anger or anxiety, pause. Do not let the feeling storm the gates. Instead, recognize it as a signal, an invitation to retreat inward. Ask yourself, is my judgment of this event causing my suffering, or the event itself? Then consciously choose a response aligned with your character, not the chaos. Your inner citadel is built one deliberate thought at a time. What is one vulnerability in your own mental fortress you could begin to reinforce today? What if every setback was secretly a gift? This is the essence of a powerful Stoic practice called Amor Fati, a Latin phrase meaning a love of one's fate. For Marcus Aurelius, this was not about naive optimism or pretending that hardship does not hurt. It was about a profound shift in perception, a decision to embrace everything life hands you as necessary material for your growth. He wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. See your fate as that fire. Every obstacle, every piece of suffering is not an interruption of your path. It is the fuel that makes your inner light burn brighter." This is how he viewed his own immense burdens, from years of war to personal loss. He did not just endure his duties, he loved them because they were his to bear. They were the very things that allowed him to practice patience, courage, and resilience. His acceptance was active, not passive. He willingly cooperated with the universe, trusting that even the most difficult events were woven into a larger, meaningful tapestry. Consider a modern example, an unexpected job loss. The initial reaction is often shock, fear, and a blow to your identity. The standard narrative is one of failure and setback. But Amor Fati asks you to reframe it entirely. This event, however painful, is now your reality. Fighting it only creates more suffering. Instead, you can choose to love it by asking, what does this make possible? It might be the forced push you needed to finally pursue a passion, to develop new skills you had neglected, or to learn the profound lesson of humility and adaptability. The situation has not changed, but your relationship with it transforms it from a source of despair into a catalyst for growth. Think of a recent difficulty in your own life, a health scare, a strained relationship, a financial worry. For a moment, set aside the frustration. Look at that event and ask yourself, if I chose to see this not as a curse, but as a necessary part of my story. What strength could it be building in me right now? This is the Emperor's secret to turning poison into medicine. Our peace is shattered not by events, but by the views we take of them. This is the core of the Stoic discipline of perception, the practice of seeing things as they truly are, stripped bare of the emotional judgments we instinctively add. Marcus Aurelius called this objective representation, and he used it as a mental filter to prevent the world from overwhelming him. He would train himself to look at a situation and describe it in plain, factual terms, without the layer of good or bad that so often triggers our suffering. The philosopher Epictetus, whose teachings Marcus studied deeply, put it plainly. He said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." A difficult person is not inherently a monster. They are a person acting in a way that seems right to them. A traffic jam is not a personal injustice. It is simply many cars occupying the same space. The event itself is neutral until our mind labels it. Consider the constant barrage of modern media and gossip. A news headline screams about a crisis, and our hearts immediately race. A colleague makes an offhand comment, and we spend hours dissecting its hidden meaning. In both cases, the raw event is just information. Our peace is broken the moment we attach a story of catastrophe or personal slight to it. Marcus, ruling an empire rife with real conspiracies and betrayals, had to master this. He could not afford to react to every rumor with panic or to every critic with rage. He would first reduce the event to its bare facts. A general is gathering troops. A senator voiced dissent. These are the observable realities. The judgment that this means treason or disrespect is an addition, one that he could choose to set aside until more facts were known. This allows for a response born of reason, not a reaction fueled by fear. You can apply this today with something as simple as receiving criticism. Your boss says your report was not thorough enough. The immediate, ego-driven interpretation is "I am a failure" or "my boss dislikes me." This internal story creates defensiveness and hurt. Now apply objective representation. Strip away the judgment and state the facts. "My boss said the report needed more detail. That is all." From this neutral ground, you can assess the feedback rationally. Is it valid? What specific details can I add? The event has not changed, but your emotional turbulence has been replaced with clear, actionable insight. Your inner peace remains intact because you did not let a valued judgment breach your walls. Today, choose one neutral event you will encounter, perhaps the sound of construction outside or a long line at the grocery store. Practice observing it without adding a layer of complaint or frustration. See it only for what it is. This is how you train your perception, building the habit of a mind that sees the world clearly and remains unshakably calm at its core. How often do you find yourself lost in worries about tomorrow or regrets from yesterday? Your mind is a time traveler, constantly leaping into a future filled with imagined problems or a past you cannot change. This mental time travel is the primary source of our anxiety, and Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. His solution was to anchor himself firmly in the only moment that ever truly exists, the present. He wrote, "Remember that each day is a separate life." This single sentence reframes existence. It is not a long, daunting stretch of years to manage, but a series of individual days, each one a complete life in itself. Your only real duty is to live this one well. For the emperor, this meant focusing completely on the task immediately before him, whether it was leading a war council, writing a law, or simply listening to a soldier. He knew that a mind fractured between past regrets and future fears is powerless in the now. By pouring all of his attention into his present duty, he not only reduced his stress but dramatically increased his effectiveness. The past is a story already written, and the future is a story yet to be written. Worrying about either is like trying to change the words in a book you have already finished or one you have not even started. Your power lies only in writing the sentence you are on right now. You can see this in a simple modern practice, single tasking. When you eat, just eat. Do not scroll through your phone or plan your afternoon. Notice the texture of the food, its taste, the simple act of nourishment. When you walk to your car, just walk. Feel the ground beneath your feet, the air on your skin. You are not rushing to the next thing, you are fully inhabiting the act of moving. This is not just a mindfulness exercise, it is a Stoic rehearsal for life's larger challenges. It trains your mind to stop fleeing the present moment, which is the only place where you can actually exercise control and find peace. For the next 5 minutes, choose one ordinary activity, making a cup of tea, listening to a song, or even just sitting quietly. Commit to being fully there, gently guiding your attention back each time it wanders to yesterday or tomorrow. Notice the quality of stillness that emerges when you are no longer fighting time. This is the Emperor's anchor, the profound peace of being completely here. What if everything you have been taught to chase is ultimately meaningless? The Roman Emperor built his life on a startling premise that virtue is the only true good. Success, wealth, health, and reputation are merely preferred indifferents, neither good nor bad in themselves. Their value lies only in how we use them, whether we act with wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. This belief was the emperor's moral compass, a guiding star that freed him from the turbulent seas of fortune and failure. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The good is a certain disposition of the will." Your true worth is not measured by your bank account or your social status, but by the quality of your character in each and every moment. He was one of the most powerful men in the world, yet he saw his throne, his armies, and his palaces as tools for exercising virtue, not as sources of happiness. This is why he could lead wars without becoming bloodthirsty, manage vast wealth without becoming greedy, and wield absolute power without becoming a tyrant. He was attached to his own integrity, not to the outcomes his actions might produce. Imagine you are faced with a business decision. You could cut a corner, tell a half-truth, and secure a lucrative contract. The outcome would be financial success, a preferred indifferent, but the action itself would lack justice and honesty, the actual goods. The Stoic chooses to be virtuous even if it means losing the contract, because the only true failure is a failure of character. The profit gained through deceit is a hollow victory, poisoning the soul it was meant to enrich. Or consider a more personal scenario. You witness someone being treated unfairly. Speaking up requires courage and may draw unwanted attention to yourself, an uncomfortable outcome. Staying silent is comfortable and safe. The virtuous path is clear, to act with courage and justice despite the potential social cost. The comfort of silence is not a true good, while the act of defending what is right strengthens your inner citadel regardless of the result. Take a moment and think back on a recent decision you made, big or small. It could be a conversation with a friend, a choice at work, or how you spent your free time. Now, evaluate it not by how it turned out, but by the single most important metric: did it align with virtue? Was it wise? Was it just? Was it courageous? Was it temperate? The outcome is already in the past, outside your control. But the character you displayed in that moment is your eternal possession. This is the Emperor's ultimate freedom, the realization that your moral choice is the one thing no external force can ever take from you. From the silent blackness of space, our planet is a fragile blue marble, suspended in an endless sea of stars. All of history has unfolded on that tiny sphere, every empire that ever rose and fell, every triumph and every heartbreak. This is the cosmic perspective, a mental exercise Marcus Aurelius practiced to shrink his ego and soothe his anxieties. He called it seeing things from above, and it was his way of escaping the prison of self-importance. He wrote in his meditations, "How many have not so much as heard your name, and how many will soon forget it? How many who praise you now will soon blame you? Fame is fleeting, and your life is but a brief moment in the vastness of time." He was not diminishing life's value, but rather clarifying it. By mentally ascending to this grand vantage point, our daily worries about status, reputation, and minor irritations lose their crushing weight. The argument you had, the project that feels so urgent, the opinion of that one person, all of it recedes into its true, small proportion against the backdrop of the cosmos. Your life is a single, brilliant flash in the long story of the universe, and this realization is not meant to make you feel insignificant, but profoundly free. You can practice this right now. Close your eyes for a moment if you are able. Picture yourself rising up through the ceiling above your town or city. See the roads as thin lines, the buildings as tiny blocks. Keep rising until you see the curve of the earth, the continents and oceans laid out below you. From here, can you even see the problem that was consuming you an hour ago? See the planet as a whole, a beautiful, lonely outpost in the immense quiet of space. All of humanity is there, each person with their own private struggles and joys, most of them completely unaware of your existence. Now, slowly bring your awareness back into the room. Carry that expanded perspective with you. The next time a trivial concern threatens to overwhelm you, remember the view from above. Ask yourself, will this matter in a week, in a year, against the backdrop of 1,000 years? This cosmic lens does not make your life small, it makes your peace vast. The emperor slept on a simple cot to remember that life is short. How might we do the same? This practice is known as Memento Mori, a Latin phrase that translates to remember you must die. For Marcus Aurelius, this was not a morbid fixation, but a powerful tool to sharpen his focus on living well. He saw death not as a terrifying end, but as a natural and necessary part of the cosmic order, a transformation we all must undergo. He wrote, "Death is a release from the impressions of the senses, and from desires that make us their puppets, and from the vagaries of the mind, and from the hard service of the flesh." His contemplation was a form of liberation, freeing him from the trivial worries that so often consume our days. When you truly internalize that your time is finite, it acts as a filter for your attention. The petty argument, the desire for superficial approval, the fear of a minor embarrassment, these things begin to lose their grip on you. You start to ask a more urgent and clarifying question. If this were my last day or my last year, would I be spending my energy on this? The answer almost always reorients you toward what is truly meaningful, toward acts of kindness, moments of genuine connection, and the steady pursuit of virtue. You do not need a simple cart to practice this. It can be as subtle as a small token on your desk, a stone or a coin you touch each morning that brings your mortality to mind. It could be a phrase you repeat to yourself when you feel overwhelmed by trivialities. This is not about cultivating fear, but about igniting purpose. It reminds you that postponing your best life, delaying that difficult but important conversation, or putting off the pursuit of your character is a luxury you may not have. So take a quiet moment and ask yourself this reflective question. If you learned that your time was genuinely limited, what one thing would you stop doing immediately, and what one thing would you start doing with unwavering focus? The clarity you find in that answer is the very essence of the emperor's peaceful mind, a life lived with intention, not in the shadow of death, but in the brilliant light of its inevitable truth. How did Marcus remain so steady whether praised or slandered? His secret was a state of profound balance the Stoics called equanimity, an even-minded composure that remains unshaken by the wild swings of fortune. This is not the cold absence of feeling, but the warm, steady light of a mind that has mastered its own reactions. The Stoic ideal of apatheia is often misunderstood as apathy, but it truly means freedom from the destructive, overwhelming passions that cloud our judgment and hijack our peace. It is the ability to experience joy without becoming giddy, and to face loss without being consumed by grief. Your soul, Marcus wrote, takes on the color of your thoughts. Dye it with deep, consistent hues of reason and acceptance, not the fleeting stains of every passing emotion. Imagine you receive 2 pieces of news in a single afternoon. First, an unexpected promotion with a significant raise. Then, a phone call informing you of a major, unforeseen expense that nearly cancels out the new income. The untrained mind would be thrown into a whipsaw of elation and despair, celebrating one moment and panicking the next. A mind practiced in equanimity would meet both events with the same calm foundation. It would acknowledge the promotion as a welcome development, but not a source of ultimate happiness. It would acknowledge the expense as a practical challenge, but not a personal catastrophe. From this balanced center, you can address each situation with clear, effective action, not reactive turmoil. Your inner peace is no longer held hostage by external events. Think back on your own recent week. Can you identify a moment of intense emotional high, a success or a piece of good news that sent your spirit soaring? Now recall a moment of frustration or disappointment that brought you low. In both cases, consider how your experience might have shifted if you had met that event with a more grounded, steady perspective. What unnecessary suffering did the high create through attachment, and what unnecessary pain did the low create through resistance? Equanimity is the art of holding both fortune and misfortune with the same steady hands, knowing that your true worth lies not in what happens to you, but in the calm, principled center from which you choose to respond. What if you could pause before labeling any event as good or bad? This simple act of hesitation is the heart of a profound Stoic discipline called the Withholding of Assent. It is the conscious choice to suspend your immediate judgment about any situation, creating a vital space between the event itself and your reaction to it. Marcus Aurelius practiced this constantly, reminding himself that things themselves do not touch the soul. He wrote, "The soul is dyed by the thoughts you choose." Your initial, raw impression of an event is just that, an impression. It is not a command you must obey. The philosopher Epictetus, a major influence on Marcus, put it with striking clarity. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And further, men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. The event itself cannot harm your inner citadel. Only your rushed judgment that it is harmful can do that. Consider the common modern scenario of a misunderstood email. You receive a message from a colleague that reads as terse and critical. Your first, automatic impression is one of anger or defensiveness, a judgment that you have been attacked. This feeling demands an immediate, sharp reply, but if you practice withholding assent, you pause. You recognize that the raw data is just words on a screen. You have not yet agreed with the initial story your mind is telling you. In that space of suspension, you can question the impression. Is it possible my colleague is just busy or stressed, and this is not a personal slight? Could the tone be a simple miscommunication? By not immediately assenting to the judgment of an attack, you prevent a cascade of negative emotion and a potential conflict. You grant yourself the freedom to choose a calm, clarifying response, or perhaps no response at all until you have more information. This transforms the entire dynamic. The next time you feel that familiar surge of irritation or anxiety in a conversation, see if you can catch it before the words form in your mind that label the situation as terrible or unfair. Just stop. Take one breath, and in that moment, consciously withhold your agreement from the initial story. Notice the quiet power that emerges when you are no longer a slave to your first impressions. What single interaction today could become your training ground for this practice of peaceful pause? Before sleep, Marcus asked himself 3 questions. What can we learn from his routine? This was his nightly ritual of self-examination, a quiet audit of the day designed to reinforce his inner citadel and sharpen his moral compass. His goal was not to punish himself for mistakes, but to learn from them and ensure his actions tomorrow would be more aligned with virtue. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, powerfully captured the spirit of this practice when he wrote, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day and go back over what I have done and said, hiding nothing from myself, passing nothing by." This is the essence of the evening review, a moment of complete honesty with oneself in the quiet dark. It transforms the day from a blur of events into a series of deliberate lessons. The process is simple but profound. You find a few moments of quiet, perhaps just before bed, and you look back on your day with a gentle, objective eye. You might ask yourself 3 questions, much like Marcus did. First, where did I act in accordance with my principles today? Acknowledge the moments you showed patience, acted with integrity, or demonstrated courage, no matter how small. This reinforces your strengths. Second, where did I stray from my values? Did I speak out of anger? Did I act out of envy or fear? Identify the misstep without self-flagellation. And third, what will I do differently tomorrow? This turns reflection into a plan for growth, closing the day with a commitment to improve. Imagine your day held a difficult conversation where you felt provoked. In your review, you note that you initially felt a surge of anger, a desire to retaliate, but you also remember that you paused, took a breath, and chose a measured response. You can acknowledge both the initial impulse and the virtuous choice you made, strengthening that neural pathway for next time. Or perhaps you notice a pattern of complaining about a situation at work without taking any constructive action. The review illuminates this, prompting you to consider one small, proactive step you could take instead of passive grumbling. Tonight, before you sleep, try this for yourself. It does not need to be a long, formal process. Simply bring to mind one moment from your day. Ask yourself, what did that moment reveal about my character? Was I the person I wish to be? You might be surprised by the quiet clarity that emerges when you stop to listen. Marcus saw himself as a part of a vast, intelligent whole. How does that change everything? This perspective, known to the Stoics as living in accord with nature, was the bedrock of his acceptance. It was not about hiking or environmentalism in the modern sense, but about understanding the cosmos itself as a single, rational, and living entity. Everything in existence, from the stars to the seasons to our own human reason, is interconnected and governed by a divine logic. To live virtuously, then, is to consciously align your own will with this grand, unfolding order. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "All things are implicated with one another, and the bond is holy. There is scarcely anything that is disconnected from everything else." You are not a solitary drop fighting the ocean. You are the ocean itself, expressing its nature through one single, conscious wave. This belief transforms resistance into cooperation. When you fight against the inevitable flow of life, you are like a leaf raging against the river's current, exhausting yourself against a force far greater than your own. But when you align with nature's rational order, you move with the current, using its energy to navigate your path. Your personal desires and the world's events are no longer in a constant battle. Think of the changing seasons. You do not begrudge autumn for the falling leaves, because you understand it is a necessary part of a larger cycle that also brings the spring. In the same way, the Stoic learns to see personal setbacks, endings, and even losses as part of a cosmic season. They are not random punishments, but integral threads in a tapestry whose full beauty we cannot see from our limited vantage point. Or consider your role within a community, which is a smaller reflection of the cosmic whole. A body functions harmoniously when each part, the heart, the hand, the eye, performs its unique duty for the benefit of the whole. So too, your own nature is to be a rational, social being. Acting with justice, kindness, and cooperation is not just being a good person, it is you fulfilling your inherent function within the living universe. You are playing your part in the grand design, so where can you begin to align your actions with this natural order today? It might be as simple as accepting a delay with the same ease you accept a rainy day, recognizing both as part of a reality you cannot command. It could mean performing your daily tasks, however mundane, with the focused excellence of a star shining in its appointed place. When you act in harmony with the whole, a profound sense of rightness settles within you, a quiet confirmation that you are exactly where you are meant to be. For Marcus, being emperor was not about power, it was about service. This commitment defines the discipline of action, the third pillar of his Stoic practice. While perception governs how we see the world and assent governs our judgment, action governs what we actually do. It is about fulfilling your roles in life with unwavering integrity, focusing entirely on the excellence of your effort rather than the applause or the outcome. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. Your peace is found in the doing itself, in knowing you acted rightly, regardless of whether anyone noticed or rewarded you." This is how he could lead armies, administer justice, and face personal betrayals without his inner calm being disturbed. His tranquility was not dependent on winning every battle or pleasing every senator, but on the certainty that in each moment he had done his duty to the best of his ability. Your own life is a collection of roles, perhaps as a parent, a colleague, a friend, or a citizen. The discipline of action asks you to pour your full effort into these roles for their own sake. Think of a parent helping a child with homework. The virtuous action is not measured by the child's final grade, which is partly outside your control. It is found in your patient presence, your clear explanations, and your steady encouragement. You do it because it is the right thing to do, because it fulfills your role. The outcome, an improved grade, is a preferred indifferent, but the integrity of your effort is the true good. Or consider a team project at work. You can choose to do just enough to get by, to ensure your contribution is noticed, or you can commit fully to the team's success, supporting others and doing your part with excellence, even if no single person ever credits you for it. The first approach ties your peace to external validation, which is fickle. The second anchors it in your own character, which is unshakable. So look at the duties that fill your week. Where is one role you could step into more fully? Is it listening more attentively to a loved one, tackling a neglected task with fresh focus, or speaking up with honesty where you have stayed silent? Choose one duty, and for the next 7 days, perform it with the quiet understanding that the reward is in the action itself, in the strengthening of your own soul. Your mind is not the storm of its thoughts, but the sky that holds them. This is the practice of cognitive distancing, a quiet skill Marcus Aurelius used to observe the chaos of his own mind without being swept away by it. He saw that we are not our thoughts, we are the awareness behind them. He wrote, "The mind is that which is roused and directed by itself. It makes of itself what it chooses." It makes what it chooses of its own experiences. Your mind can stand apart from its own impressions, watching them come and go like weather. When a harsh judgment arises, like "I am a failure," the untrained mind accepts this as a fact and suffering follows. The mind practicing cognitive distancing simply notices, there is the thought that I am a failure. It observes the mental event without fusing with it. This tiny gap, this moment of separation, is where your freedom lies. It is the difference between being trapped inside a raging cloud and watching it pass peacefully overhead. You are no longer a prisoner of your internal narrative, but its calm, detached witness. Try this simple exercise the next time a wave of worry or self-criticism appears. Instead of getting tangled in the story, silently label it. Begin the thought with the phrase, "I am having the thought that," for example, "I am having the thought that I will embarrass myself in the meeting." Or, "I am having the thought that my work is not good enough." This linguistic shift creates an immediate and powerful space. It places you in the role of the observer, the sky, rather than the passing cloud. The content of the thought may remain, but its power to define you and dictate your emotional state dissolves. Right now, bring to mind a recurring worry. Notice it and then gently frame it with those words, "I am having the thought that." Do not argue with the thought, do not believe it, and do not push it away. Simply watch it sit there in your awareness, a temporary visitor, not the master of your house. This is the emperor's secret to a quiet mind, learning to sit in the stillness behind the noise. What if every barrier was designed to make you stronger? This is the proactive heart of the Stoic embrace, moving beyond simple acceptance to actively using hardship as the very material for building character. Marcus Aurelius did not see a river blocking his path and simply accept he could not cross. He saw it as the reason he would learn to build a bridge. He wrote in his Meditations, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." An obstacle is not a stop sign. It is a detour sign that forces you onto a new, often more creative path. Your resilience is not found in avoiding the storm, but in learning to sail in the very winds that threaten to capsize you. Think of a failed project at work, one that consumed your energy and then fell apart. The immediate interpretation is one of wasted time and personal failure, but through the Stoic lens, this event is a training ground. The failure teaches you perseverance, showing you just how much effort you are truly capable of. It forces creativity, demanding you find solutions you would never have considered in a state of easy success. It reveals your own assumptions and blind spots, offering a brutal but invaluable lesson in humility. The project itself may be over, but the inner strengths you forged in its wake are now permanent possessions. So take a moment and bring to mind one current obstacle in your own life. It could be a financial limitation, a difficult relationship, or a personal goal that feels out of reach. Now, instead of listing all the reasons it is a problem, ask yourself this single, transformative question. How is this specific barrier secretly training me? Is it teaching me patience by forcing me to wait? Is it building my courage by requiring me to have a difficult conversation? Is it fostering creativity by demanding I live with less? Your obstacle is not your enemy. It is your most demanding and effective coach. List one way it is already making you stronger and carry that reframed strength with you into the day ahead. In the chaos of Rome, Marcus found peace in silence. How can we cultivate that today? He did not seek empty rooms, but a profound inner quiet. A deliberate retreat from the noise of the world to hear the one voice that mattered most, his own reasoned conscience. He wrote, "Nowhere can you retreat with more quiet or freedom than into your own soul. Constantly then grant yourself this retreat and so renew yourself." This was his sanctuary, the little field within his soul where he could tend to his thoughts without interruption. For him, solitude was not an escape from duty, but the very practice that made his duty possible. It was in these quiet moments that he could untangle the complex threads of his day, examine his own judgments, and return to the world with a clarity that external chaos could not shatter. Our modern world offers a constant, buzzing invitation to distraction, a relentless pull away from ourselves. We fill every spare second with a podcast, a scroll, a notification, afraid of what we might hear in the silence. But it is precisely in that silence that we find the space to build our inner citadel. A practical start is to claim a morning quiet time, even just 10 minutes before the day demands your attention. This is not for planning or worrying, but for simply sitting with your own mind, observing your thoughts without judgment, letting the mental static settle. Another powerful application is a scheduled digital detox, a conscious decision to disconnect from the endless stream of information and reconnect with the steady rhythm of your own breath. It is in these pockets of purposeful solitude that you can ask yourself the deeper questions, the ones that get drowned out by the daily clamor. What is truly important to me? Where am I acting out of fear rather than principle? This week, can you schedule one short period of solitude? It might be a walk without your phone, 15 minutes alone in a park, or simply sitting by a window with a cup of tea, fully present. Notice the resistance, the urge to reach for a screen, and then gently set it aside. What small insight emerges when you finally grant yourself the gift of quiet? Marcus listed his debts to others each day. What if we did the same? This was not about tallying financial obligations, but about cultivating a profound and active gratitude for the people, the lessons, and the simple gifts that filled his life. He would consciously call to mind the virtues of his teachers, the loyalty of his friends, even the patience of his own body. For the Stoic, gratitude is a powerful reorientation of attention, a deliberate shift away from the endless wanting that breeds anxiety and toward the deep appreciation that fosters contentment. It is the practice of seeing the abundance that is already here, right now. He wrote in his meditations, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." He did not take the fundamental mechanics of existence for granted. The ability to see the sunrise, to feel the solid ground underfoot, to have a mind capable of reason, these were not small things to him. They were the very foundation of a peaceful life. This perspective transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary gifts. The warmth of a cup in your hands, the sound of laughter from another room, the simple fact that your heart beats without any command from you, these are the true riches. A daily gratitude practice makes this shift tangible. It can be as simple as keeping a small journal and each evening, writing down 3 specific things you were thankful for that day. They need not be grand. Perhaps it was the taste of your morning coffee, a stranger who held a door open, or the quiet moment you noticed the color of the sky. The act of writing them down, of giving them a name, solidifies their reality in your mind and trains your brain to scan for blessings, not only for lacks. Take a quiet moment right now and bring to mind one thing you typically take for granted. It might be the reliable roof over your head, the functioning of your senses, or a relationship that has been a constant. Now try to appreciate it fully, as if you had just received it for the first time or as if it could be taken away tomorrow. Feel the genuine weight of that gift. This daily counting of blessings, just as the emperor did, builds a fortress of contentment that no external circumstance can easily breach. What if being forgotten was the key to freedom? For Marcus Aurelius, the endless pursuit of fame was a hollow chase, a trap that would forever chain your happiness to the unpredictable opinions of others. He saw clearly that the applause of a crowd is as fleeting as an echo, and a reputation built on public favor is a house constructed on shifting sand. His indifference was not a lack of ambition, but a profound liberation. He wrote, "How quickly all things disappear, in the universe the bodies themselves, but in time the remembrance of them." What is eternal fame? A vanity. He knew that even the most celebrated names are eventually worn away by the relentless river of time, reduced to a footnote in a book few will ever read. His focus, therefore, remained unshakably fixed on the one thing that could not be taken from him, his inner worth, the quality of his character in the silent moments when no one was watching. This is the Stoic dismissal of external validation, a conscious uncoupling of your self-worth from the fickle court of public opinion. Consider the modern arena of social media, a constant stream of likes, shares, and comments. It is dangerously easy to tie your mood, your confidence, even your sense of identity to that digital feedback. A post that receives high engagement can make you feel validated and significant, while one that falls flat can trigger a quiet sense of inadequacy. But the Stoic asks you to step back and see this for what it is. You are handing over the keys to your inner peace to a vast, anonymous crowd whose attention span is notoriously short. The practice, then, is to perform the action for its own sake, to write the post, create the art, or do the good work because it aligns with your values, and then to release it without an emotional investment in the outcome. The likes and comments become preferred indifference, pleasant if they come, but meaningless to your core identity if they do not. Your worth was intact before you posted, and it remains intact after. Where in your own life are you secretly seeking that external stamp of approval? Is it in your career, longing for a specific title or the praise of a superior? Is it in your social circle, molding your opinions or suppressing your true self to fit in and be liked? Take a moment to identify one area where you feel that subtle pull. Now consider what it would feel like to gently loosen your grip on that need. How would you act differently if you were completely immune to both the flattery and the criticism of others? The freedom you find in that thought is the very same freedom that allowed an emperor to rule with wisdom, untouched by the roars of the crowd or the whispers of his critics. How would you treat others if you saw them as limbs of the same body? This is the ancient Stoic principle of oikeiosis, the recognition that all of humanity is bound together in a single, rational community. For Marcus Aurelius, this was not a lofty ideal, but a practical guide for daily life, a lens that transformed strangers into kin and adversaries into misguided family members. He wrote in his meditations, "We are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids, like the rows of the upper and lower teeth. To act against one another then is contrary to nature." Just as your own hand would not deliberately strike your face, to harm another person is to act against the fundamental unity of which you are a part. This belief was the source of his profound compassion, even toward those who betrayed him. He saw their actions not as the work of monsters, but as the errors of individuals who had lost their way, who were failing to see their own connection to the whole. His response was not to destroy them, but to try and realign them, just as you would seek to heal a wounded limb rather than cut it off. Consider a difficult person in your own life, someone whose actions consistently frustrate or anger you. The common reaction is to build a wall, to label them as difficult or toxic, and to engage from a place of defense or attack. But the Stoic practice of oikeiosis asks you to pause and see them differently. This person, like you, is a fragment of the universal reason. They, like you, are acting in a way that they believe will bring them happiness or security, however mistaken their path may be. They are not an alien enemy, but a fellow traveler who has lost their map. This shift does not mean you condone harmful behavior. You can still set firm boundaries and take prudent action. But you do so from a foundation of understanding, not hatred. You engage with the goal of restoring harmony to the whole, not of winning a personal battle. The energy you once spent on resentment is freed up for clear, effective, and principled action. Today, choose one person you might normally view with irritation or judgment. It could be a demanding coworker, a contentious relative, or simply a stranger who cuts you off in traffic. For just a moment, consciously reframe them in your mind. See them not as an obstacle, but as another part of the same vast body you belong to, a person with their own struggles, their own history, and their own search for peace. How does that subtle shift change the quality of your own heart? How many of your desires are truly necessary? This question cuts to the core of Stoic freedom. The emperor understood that inner peace is not about getting everything you want, but about wanting less, about mastering the endless hunger of your own appetites. Marcus Aurelius lived this principle daily, choosing a simple cot over a lavish bed and plain food over decadent feasts, not as a punishment, but as a declaration of independence. He knew that every desire you nurture for something external is a chain you willingly fasten to your own soul. Your tranquility becomes held hostage by the very things you believe will bring you happiness. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, whose teachings Marcus devoured, framed this with stunning clarity. He said, "Freedom is not achieved by satisfying desire, but by eliminating it." True liberty is the right disposition toward your cravings, the ability to look at something you want and calmly say, "I can live without that." It is the space between a wanting impulse and your action where your power resides. Consider the modern ritual of online shopping. You see an advertisement for the latest gadget, and a wave of desire washes over you. It promises happiness, status, or relief from boredom. The untrained mind clicks buy now, seeking to satisfy that itch, but mastery asks you to pause. Is this a natural need, like nourishment or shelter, or is it a vain want, a manufactured craving for something that will likely bring only a fleeting thrill? By consciously delaying that purchase for a week, you do not just save money, you perform a powerful act of mental discipline. You prove to yourself that you are not a slave to your impulses. The desire may still be there, but its power over you is broken. You have strengthened your inner citadel against the siege of commercial persuasion. This week, identify one small, non-essential desire that frequently arises for you. It might be the craving for a sweet treat when you are not hungry, the urge to scroll through social media for a hit of distraction, or the want for a new piece of clothing you do not need. Your practice is to consciously release your grip on it just once. Notice the momentary discomfort, the little voice of lack, and then observe the quiet empowerment that follows when you realize you are still whole, still perfectly content without it. What single chain could you choose to unfasten from your soul today? What if anticipating worst-case scenarios actually made you happier? This is the counterintuitive heart of a powerful Stoic exercise called Premeditation Malorum, the Premeditation of Evils. It is not about pessimism or worry, but about a deliberate, reasoned rehearsal of potential hardship to inoculate the mind against fear and deepen your appreciation for the life you have right now. Marcus Aurelius would use this practice before leading his legions into battle, mentally preparing for the chaos, the possibility of defeat, or even his own death. By confronting these fears in the safe space of his own mind, he stripped them of their terrifying power. The shock of a real setback was diminished because he had already lived through a version of it in his thoughts. The Stoic philosopher Seneca captured the essence of this beautifully when he advised, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, "Is this the condition that I feared?" By occasionally rehearsing poverty, you learn to enjoy your wealth without being enslaved by the fear of losing it. The practice transforms your relationship with the gifts you currently hold. Try this with a modern concern, like the security of your job. For a few moments, allow yourself to fully imagine losing it. Picture the initial shock, the practical worries about finances, the blow to your identity. Sit with that discomfort, then guide your mind through the next steps. You would update your resume, reach out to your network, explore new opportunities. You would adapt as humans always do. Now pull your awareness back to the present. Your job is still there. Notice the shift in your feeling toward it. The background anxiety about its loss may have lessened, replaced by a more vivid, conscious gratitude for the income and purpose it provides today. The situation has not changed, but your perception of it has been fundamentally altered. Take one quiet minute and bring to mind a modest fear, perhaps about your health or a valued relationship. Briefly let the scenario play out in your mind, not to panic but to prepare. Then return to the present and feel the solid ground beneath your feet. How does the simple act of looking at a fear directly change the weight it carries in your life? When anger flares, what if you could let reason, not passion, take the wheel? This is the sovereignty of reason, the Stoic discipline of ensuring your emotional responses are guided by logic, not hijacked by raw, unexamined feeling. For Marcus Aurelius, the mind's ruling faculty was meant to be the calm captain of the ship, not a passenger tossed about by every stormy emotion. He wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." He cultivated this sovereignty through relentless mindfulness, a constant practice of observing his own internal reactions and subjecting them to the clear light of reason. He understood that an emotion is like a first, frantic messenger, but you are the king who decides what to do with the message. The goal is not to feel nothing, but to feel appropriately, to ensure your anger is proportionate to a true injustice. Your fear is a rational response to a real danger, and your joy is not so dependent on external things that its loss would devastate you. Your ruling faculty, he believed, is unconquerable if it does not judge itself conquered. Nothing outside can force you to abandon reason. Only your own assent to a passionate impulse can do that. Imagine you are in a heated argument with a partner. Harsh words are exchanged, your body tenses, your heart races, and a wave of anger demands you lash out with a cutting remark of your own. This is the critical juncture. In that sliver of a moment, you have a choice. You can let passion take the wheel and escalate the conflict, or you can pause, retreat for a moment into your inner citadel, and let reason assess the situation. Reason might ask, what is my goal here? Is it to win the argument and hurt the other person, or is it to resolve the misunderstanding and restore harmony? Is my anger justified, or is it fueled by wounded pride? From this reasoned space, your response shifts entirely. Instead of a retaliatory insult, you might say, "I need a moment because I care about us, and I do not want to speak from anger." The situation is the same, but your governed response transforms it from a battle into an opportunity for connection. Think back to a recent time you felt a strong, negative emotion, perhaps frustration in traffic or irritation with a coworker. Now replay that moment and ask yourself, what would my calmest, most reasonable self have advised in that situation? Would it have advised deep breathing instead of horn honking? Would it have suggested a clarifying question instead of a sarcastic comment? This is not about self-criticism, but about training. Each time you analyze a past reaction, you strengthen your ability to choose reason in the next moment, building the unshakable peace of a mind that governs itself. In an age of excess, Marcus chose simplicity. What can we learn from his example? He understood that a cluttered life, filled with endless possessions and frantic commitments, creates a cluttered mind. His philosophy was not one of deprivation, but of liberation. By intentionally choosing less, he created more space for what truly mattered, for reason, for virtue, for peace. He wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." This is the core of Stoic simplicity. It is not about owning nothing, but about owning nothing that owns you. Your possessions, your schedule, and even your stream of thought should serve your inner calm, not compete with it. Think of your mind as a clear, still pond. Every unnecessary item you acquire is a pebble tossed into that water, creating ripples of distraction and desire. Every non-essential commitment you make is a leaf dropped on the surface, obscuring the clarity beneath. The goal is to stop throwing pebbles and to gently remove the leaves, allowing the water to settle back into its natural state of tranquility. Consider the modern ritual of checking your phone first thing in the morning. Before you have even fully awakened, you have invited a tidal wave of information, other people's agendas, and commercial demands into your mental space. Your day begins not with your own intentions, but with a reaction to the world's noise. This is the opposite of simplicity. It is voluntary complexity. So, what is one small step you can take? Begin with a simple decluttering exercise. Today, choose just one drawer in your home, one shelf, or even just your digital desktop. Remove one single item that no longer serves a purpose or brings you value. It does not need to be a grand gesture. The act itself is the practice. As you remove that one unnecessary object, you are sending a powerful message to your own mind. You are declaring that you are in control, that you choose focus over fragmentation. Now, look beyond the physical. Where else can you apply this principle of simplicity? Is your schedule so packed that you have no time to think? Identify one commitment, one recurring meeting or social obligation that drains more energy than it provides. Consider what it would feel like to gently let it go, to reclaim that time for quiet reflection or meaningful connection. What is one area of your life right now that feels unnecessarily complicated? Name it and then take one tiny, decisive action to simplify it. This is not about achieving a perfect minimalist lifestyle overnight. It is about the daily, deliberate choice to clear away the noise so you can finally hear the quiet, steady voice of your own reasoned soul. Every event is a thread in the tapestry of the whole. How does that change your view of setbacks? This ancient Stoic principle, known as Sympatheia, is the profound recognition that nothing happens in isolation. Marcus Aurelius saw the universe as a single, living being, a vast web where every occurrence, from the fall of a leaf to the rise of an empire, is connected by an invisible, rational thread. He wrote, "All things are intertwined with one another, a sacred bond uniting them. There is scarcely one thing that is disconnected from another." When you truly internalize this, a personal setback is no longer a random, senseless blow from an indifferent universe. It is a necessary adjustment in the grand pattern, a tug on one thread that tightens and strengthens the entire design. Your frustration is not the whole story. It is merely your limited perspective on a single knot in an immense, beautiful weaving. This belief transforms acceptance from a passive resignation into an active collaboration with a cosmic order far wiser than your momentary desires. Think of a time you missed out on a crucial opportunity, perhaps a job you desperately wanted. The initial feeling is one of crushing disappointment, a conviction that your path has been permanently derailed, but Sympatheia asks you to trust the web. That closed door forced you onto a different road, one where you perhaps met a future partner. discovered a hidden talent, or avoided a toxic work environment you could not have foreseen. The setback was not a punishment, it was a redirection woven into the fabric of your life for reasons you may only understand in hindsight. The missed job was the thread that, when pulled, revealed an entirely new and more fitting pattern you were meant to follow. So recall one event from your own past that felt like a pure loss or a failure at the time. Sit with it for a moment, not with the old frustration, but with a new curiosity. Ask yourself, if this event was a necessary stitch in the tapestry of my life, what strength, what new direction, or what hidden blessing did its tension ultimately create? The answer you find is the quiet reassurance that you are not a solitary fighter against chaos, but an integral part of a cosmic whole that is forever conspiring to make you whole. How do you want to be remembered, for what you had or for who you were? This question lies at the heart of the Stoic vision for a meaningful life. For Marcus Aurelius, a lasting legacy was not built on monuments or wealth, but on the quiet, enduring quality of one's character. He wrote, "The memory of a good character is the only thing that remains with us forever." While his statues crumbled and his empire transformed, the record of his virtue, his meditations, continues to guide millions. This shifts our entire focus from accumulation to contribution. The goal is not to gather things that time will inevitably erode, but to pour your energy into acts of integrity, kindness, and reason that ripple outward long after you are gone. This is the ultimate source of lasting peace, knowing your life was measured by the strength of your soul, not the size of your estate. Consider the simple, powerful act of mentoring someone. You spend an afternoon guiding a younger colleague, not for any reward or recognition, but because it is the right thing to do. You share your knowledge, offer encouragement, and help them navigate a challenge. You may never be formally thanked, and no one may ever build a statue in your honor for that single act. Yet, the wisdom you impart becomes a part of their journey. They, in turn, may guide others with the same patience they learned from you. Your legacy becomes a living chain of virtue, silently passed from one person to the next, altering the course of countless lives in ways you will never see. This is how character endures. It is not a loud proclamation, but a quiet, persistent force. Your legacy is being written in the small choices of every single day. In your next conversation, will you choose to listen with patience or interrupt with impatience? When faced with a chance to cut a corner, will you choose integrity over convenience? These are the bricks with which you build a life that truly lasts. So, bring to mind the legacy you wish to leave. What one small action can you take today, completely without expectation of reward, that aligns with the person you truly want to be remembered as? The Emperor's journey reveals a clear and powerful map to inner peace, one built not on avoiding life's storms but on learning to stand firm within them. At its heart lies the radical sorting of the dichotomy of control, teaching us to pour our energy only into our own judgments and actions while accepting the external world with calm indifference. From this foundation rises the inner citadel, a mental fortress strengthened by the daily practice of objective perception, where we see events as they are, not as our fears paint them. We learn to embrace our fate with Amor Fati, loving every obstacle as fuel for our growth, and to anchor ourselves in the present moment, the only time where we truly hold power. Through the disciplines of desire and action, we free ourselves from the chains of wanting and find profound purpose in virtuous service. The cosmic perspective shrinks our ego, while Memento Mori sharpens our focus on what matters. And in the quiet sovereignty of our own reason, we find the strength to govern our reactions, not be governed by them. These are not abstract ideas, but practical tools for a modern life. They empower you to transform anxiety into action, frustration into focus, and chaos into calm. Marcus Aurelius left us with a final, guiding light when he wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life." It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. Your unshakable peace was never out there to be found. It has been waiting within you all along, a quiet potential ready to be unlocked through deliberate practice. So we leave you with one question to carry forward. Which of these Stoic practices will you choose to start with to lay the first stone in building your own inner citadel? Share your commitment in the comments below and join a community dedicated to living with wisdom and resilience.